Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 258 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian, and we are chugging along here. And it's funny, it seems like our first chops have been massive lately. I don't with things that we've been watching. I don't know why. Just
I've been on a movie kick lately. I don't know why, but I've just been watching movies voraciously. I mean, not just horror either. The stuff I don't talk about. I watched Fistful of Dollars, the old Clint Eastwood. Today I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once because of the Oscar win. So I've been watching a lot of non-horror as well.
Yeah, no, there's a couple of non-horrors in here too. Not so much for you, but it's for here. It's winter. It's, you're inside a lot. And I think also it's around award season between the chainsaws and regular things. And, you just hear stuff and you watch stuff and then that inspires you to want to watch something else. And you're also doing that In Search of Tomorrow, In Search of Darkness one. I said, which actually mine shipped. I'm very excited. It's on its way. The official copy of Part 3 and that little box that can house the 3 discs in there and stuff.
Very nice.
So I'm very excited. That's on its way. But we got a big first chop, so I'll let Tim lead us into that there.
Yes, here's our official intro. This is our first chop. All right, Brian, so I know we both watched a bunch of stuff. I guess we'll just alternate.
Yeah. Some are going to be quick on, too. I think some I'm just going to touch on. So
I'm not going to go into a great detail on mine either. The first one I watched here was Kung Fu Zombie from 1981. This is one off the In Search of Darkness list, and this one is... I'd almost hesitate to classify this as horror. I think the only reason it's horror is because technically it has zombies, ghosts, and vampires in it. But
that sounds like a Joe Bob thing or something, Got zombies, ghosts, and vampires.
It's definitely got ghost foo, vampire foo, and zombie foo. But it's really a badly dubbed. Yeah, it's a badly dubbed kung fu movie. If you like those, you will love this because it is one of those badly dubbed kung fu movies with a slight supernatural element, and it's very slapstick, very Three Stooges. But the fight scenes and stuff and the choreography is really fun. So I don't know. You have to be in the right mindset to watch this. I guess that's the caveat. Don't go into it expecting some crazy horror movie. It's not really scary. It's more of a kind of a slapstick comedy. But if you like those old cheesy kung fu movies, I think you might like this one. It's from 1981, and I think it's on Tubi.
Yeah, I was going to say it's funny, and what you described in terms of bad dubbing and stuff like that almost describes my Tubi trap. So wait till we get into that later. But, so the first one I'll do is this is definitely not horror, so we'll keep with the kind of not horror theme, but it's one that, ironically enough, seems to get talked about. This franchise gets talked about more on our podcast, I think, than anything else, and that's the Rocky franchise. And Vudu had a sale on Rocky vs. Drago, which, in case people are not familiar with, is basically Sylvester Stallone decided to recut the movie. And if you remember it, the original Rocky 4, basically, it to me, I mean, as much as I loved it, don't get me wrong, because Rocky movies were events, and I would see every one in the theater after Part 2 was the first. 3 was the first one I saw in the theater, and every one of them since I'd seen in the theater. They're events, they're exciting, and Rocky 4 was no exception. I mean, that was a fun movie to be in the theater, but let's be honest, at the time period, the movie, if you look at it now, as much as I've watched it over and over 1,000 times, it literally is an extended, almost something that MTV would create. There's constant music montages in it. There's the silly robot sequence and all that stuff, which, you laugh at, very 80s, all that stuff. But if you look at it back as a quality film, it is not one, So, and it's, and a lot of people bash Rocky 5 as being one of the worst ones. And I don't mind that one. I like that one a lot too. But so anyway, so Sylvester Stallone decided to recut this, and I'm not going to go into every single detail. There's a lot of differences in it. It just the one thing I'll say about it is I think it's definitely less music video, definitely more focuses on Apollo and Rocky's friendship and Rocky's true determination to beat Drago. it makes more sense. That's why I think it even named it Rocky versus Drago. It's that's how much it's focused on that. There's a lot of extra sequences, little extra conversations and extended sequences between Rocky and Apollo in the beginning. Their discussion, the fight between Apollo and Drago is actually a little bit longer. There's some more conversation between him and Rocky. Really explains why Rocky doesn't. A lot of people criticize, are like, oh, he didn't drop there's a little more into that. Whether or not, I think it's too early for me to judge because I haven't seen I need to watch them back to back almost, Rocky 4 and Rocky vs. Drago together to see, which overall is better. But I'm leaning towards, in terms of a more funny that more captures the whole Rocky spirit. I think the recut does that job really well.
Well, I am I do plan on rewatching the whole Rocky series because I was going to do that. I've never seen any of the Creed movies. Which
are very good. I haven't seen the latest, but
yeah,
the first
I decided, I was like, you know what? Instead of just starting with Creed, I'm going to go back and watch all the Rockies because it's been so long since I've seen most of them. And then I think when I go back through it, I'm going to watch the recut Rocky 4. I'm not going to watch the original. I'm going to watch Rocky versus Drago, and that'll be my fourth entry. And we'll just go from there. So that should be a fun. I'm trying to finish up Rambo right now. I got the last 2 Rambo films I need to watch. The next one up on my list I watched was Inseminoid from 1981.
Oh, I think I've seen that. That was on Prime at one point.
It's a blatant Alien ripoff.
But
a bunch of crew members in space, obviously a lot lower budget. And one reason it's a lower budget is there's no actual alien. The alien is in fact a woman that's basically possessed and impregnated by this thing, and she's kind of going around killing people. So I don't know. It wasn't very memorable to me. It's like I said, it's very much, there's better alien clones out there that I've seen. So this one I think you could safely skip. But again, it was another one on my In Search of Darkness list, so I had to check it out.
Since I actually have more on my list, I'm going to put these two together because they're both in the same theme. And this is Follow and the Beta Test. Goes because they star our new friend of the show, Olivia Applegate, who we had on, of course, for in our Dead Dawn team interview. And she had recommended to see Follow. She said that was her closest to type of thing that she did to horror, and also the Beta Test is kind of borderline horror too. She's in both. Follow is very interesting. It's a guy, basically he wakes up, not to spoil it, but he basically goes, it happens at the beginning of the film. He goes in, he's got this relationship with his girlfriend, and he ends up waking up. He kind of blanks out and wakes up, and she's lying there dead. And so it's like this whole movie, one of those type of movies where he's trying to scramble, and you don't know which is real, what's a nightmare, what's not. So it's it's very short. I think it's like at 84 minutes, but it was really good. So Olivia Applegate is of course now that we got to meet her, I wanted to watch her movie, and she's actually really, really good in this. And the next one, she's got a very small role in it. It's called the Beta Test, where it's very, think of that almost like a more modernized version in a way of the movie The Player, where it's very Hollywood agent kind of stuff like that. And that guy, I always forget his name, and I'm looking it up now. Jim Cummings, the one that was in what's that movie? I always forget the name of that. Oh, The Wolf of Snow Hollow. So he's in that, and he's a very, very similar type of role where he's almost constantly talking. It's I feel like it's just a role if they designed it after me, nonstop talking. But that again is good, where he gets caught up in this thing where he thinks that someone's trying to frame him but this time instead of a murder, it's an affair that he supposedly had. And all the while he's trying to sign this big deal with his agency, and one of those very frenetically paced movies. It's on Hulu, but it's actually really good. And Olivia Applegate, although it's a small role, it's quite memorable just for her because she's a very important piece to the plot. So I don't want to spoil that, but you guys, if you want to check out one of those kind of cool, it's horror adjacent. But I think it's actually, I think IMDb lists it as horror for some reason. They have it listed as comedy, horror, thriller. So I think the intensity part, a bit is why they classify it as horror. But so those are two good Olivia Applegate movies. Of course, you can check out before you see her in Dead Dawn coming soon, hopefully.
Very nice. Next up on my list is another. I was all over 1981 this week. The next one up was Nightmare from 1981, and this one was about a mental patient that escapes from an asylum and he goes around murdering people. And this one was really interesting because, I mean, it's the most basic 80s slasher plot you can get, right? Guy breaks out of an asylum and starts killing people. But there's something weird. There's something about the budget and the effects and the way it all gets put together. It's a very brutal movie, and it's very non-humorous. Like, it doesn't have that normal camp that a lot of the 80s movies had. So it's there's something kind of disturbing about it. It's I couldn't quite put my finger on it while I was watching it, but I was like, this one's kind of getting to me. And I don't understand. Somebody else that watches it, let me know. But I've heard other people say it that this one kind of freaked them out a little bit because it's just something about the brutality and the seriousness of it that it kind of, it's sort of like, when you watch like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's got that grittiness to it. It feels real. This one kind of does in an 80s way. I don't know how else to explain it, but check that one out. Nightmare 1981.
So the next one is again related to our Dead Dawn group. I watched Girls Night Out, which was Mackenzie Mousey, who, of course, we got to meet her in that team, and she was very delightful to talk to. And, it's funny, they were saying how, she's really trying to branch out of her roles because she was in a soap opera, she was a Disney princess, essentially, as they joked about. This is a kind of a typical horror type of film where she plays a just engaged woman that basically her husband to be sets up a nice night out with her and her friends who she hasn't seen in a while for sort of like a bachelorette night, and basically her ex, who's a psycho, who she kind of, it kind of goes into as the movie progresses, you find out what really set off his revenge tactic, but wants to get revenge on her, so he basically kidnaps the new husband and basically has her and her bridesmaids / friends or whatever basically have to do all these tasks, and he's watching them, and they have to complete these tasks or her new husband dies, and it's one of these things where it's going throughout the night and she's got to go through all these different challenges. And it was like, when I first saw the plot, I'm like, okay, I kind of seen this, but you know what though, I don't know what, I just actually kind of enjoyed it. I mean, it was just, I think the performances were really good in a movie that sometimes you'll tend to see those and they're not done well, but this one was done well. This took a very simple premise and it made it watchable, and I think that was just a good cast. They had a very good cast in this. Like, everyone kind of played their roles almost to perfection, to where you'd need them to be to make this movie work. So
yeah, I kind of like that plot line. I've seen it on Black Mirror, and I've seen it on, I think there was an Emma Roberts movie that was kind of
I forgot what that's called, but I know the one you're talking about. I've seen that too. Yeah, and it's one of those situations that I think could feel real. It's not like that far-fetched. Someone could kidnap someone you care about, and literally, especially with technology today, could constantly be in contact with you, telling me, here, you need to do this or this is going to happen. And it really shows off Mackenzie Mousey's range, which is nice to see. So I think she's going to be even makes me even more excited to see Dead Dawn. So
next one up here, this is a trivia question. This is The Terror from 1963. This is a Boris Karloff, Jack Nicholson movie.
Whoa.
So if you ever get a trivia question like, did Jack Nicholson ever star with Boris Karloff? He did in 1963. It's a Roger Corman movie. And guess what director directed 4 days on this movie? Famous director.
Orson Welles.
Nope. Francis Ford Coppola.
Really?
Yeah, so this movie is like trivia night all day long.
This is like this should have been one of our connections, those things we used to do.
But yeah, it stars an impossibly young Jack Nicholson. He plays a French military soldier, which, if you can imagine, Jack Nicholson doesn't even attempt to be French. I mean, he doesn't even try. And
he's what was he, just like, au revoir?
He doesn't even try for an accent. And he gets
bonjour, Wendy.
He gets separated from his unit, and he winds up washing ashore on this beach. And this woman saves him, and he tracks her down to this castle, and it's one of those weird Poe-esque, Edgar Allan Poe esque movies. And in fact, it was, Roger Corman did a lot of those Poe movies back in this time period. And this is kind of, although I don't think this was based on a Poe story, it's very Poe-like. And so nobody knows who this woman is. They're saying they don't know who she is. We don't know what you're talking about, but he keeps seeing her around the castle, blah, 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 blah. Boris Karloff's great in it. He doesn't play a monster or anything. He plays just a resident of the castle. And the only problem I have with this movie is it's so hard to see Jack Nicholson playing it. Like, to me, he's so miscast. Now, at the time, nobody knew who he was, really. So
right.
You wouldn't say it was miscast, but there's too much baggage there now. You can't go back and watch this movie with Jack Nicholson in it and expect to believe at all that this guy's a French military cadet or whatever. So that kind of took me out of the movie, but at the same time, it's so entertaining to watch him and Boris Karloff together on screen. So for that alone, I'd recommend checking it out. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. This is one that Jeff Whitmire had recommended. I've heard a lot of buzz about it, and I finally bit the bullet because it was on sale for $4.99 to own digitally on Vudu, and that's Candyland. It's one of these kind of like gritty, like truck stop movies where it's like these girls are turning tricks at the truck stop, nicknamed Candyland. And it's I don't want to go into too much the plot because it's still relatively new to see. But the performances are great. Josh Brolin's daughter is in it. She's one of the stars, and Olivia Luccardi, who we love, and she was great, of course, in It Follows and a lot of other things. She's plays this kind of culty religious person that kind of like wants to break away from her group that she's with and kind of she ends up staying at the truck stop. So, but it's like it starts off. I'm like, I don't really see why this is. Why is this a horror movie? And eventually you'll see why it's a horror movie. But it's definitely more of like a gritty horror, like thriller kind of thing. But it's still, I definitely would classify it as a horror movie. And it's, I liked it way better than I thought I was going to as I was going. I see why Jeff Whitmire was raving about it because it's, and I see a lot of people say the same thing. It just like, as you start to watch it, it just hits you right. And I think the performances are so strong in it that you like actually kind of like really feel for the characters in it. Actually, Billy Baldwin's in it, and I think he kind of gives his like, this is almost like the Billy Baldwin I want to win an Oscar role he took, but you could tell he goes so all into this movie. Fortunately, I don't think he's going to be ever like recognized for it as much as he probably should. He's really good. He plays like the sheriff in town. But yeah, I think it's really just one of these like, if you like those kind of gritty, like real life kind of mixed with horror kind of movies, I guess this one you like. I think you would like it, Tim. It's pretty good. Plus, I know you're a big Olivia Luccardi fan, so
cool. Yeah. The next one up, and the last one I watched was Shudder from 2004. If you remember, there was a remake of this in America. This is about the
and this is Shutter, not Shudder.
Yeah, Shutter. It's about the couple that gets involved in a car accident, and then he's a photographer, so he starts seeing strange things in the photographs. Very Japanese horror, although this is a Thailand film, a Thai film. So, but it's very in that Japanese horror vein that was all the rage in the early 2000s. And I will have to say, even though this was a decent movie, it seems really dated by today's standards. I don't think that's a genre that held up very well. Like, to me, when I watch those like Japanese ghost horror movie type movies, they seem really dated to me for some reason.
Do you think it's because so many there's been so many American remakes so fast? Like they didn't even have time to grow as like a classic over there, and they've been remade so fast here.
I don't know, and I don't know if it's also because they're heavily dependent on technology. Like, I mean, well, I guess not The Grudge so much, but The Ring was, of course, the videotape, and then Shudder is like old-fashioned photography, and then maybe that plays into it a little bit, where it's something about it just doesn't seem modern or fresh to me, and it doesn't age well to me, and that's kind of what I felt with this one. I just felt like, oh, it's another one of those like The Grudge or The Ring, or I don't know, I rewatched The Ring fairly recently, and it just didn't hold up for me like it. I mean, I remember loving that movie, loving the heck out of that movie.
Yeah.
And I still like it, but when I rewatched, I was like, this isn't as good as I remember. But I don't think it's the movie's fault. I think it's just time passing. I think it just hasn't aged as well as I would have hoped. So anyway, Shudder 2004, another one off the In Search of Darkness list. Only about 350 to go.
Yeah, you're getting there.
I'm getting there.
Well, at least you can keep. It's still in our shared Vimeo, so you can always kind of go and watch it if you need to.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. That In Search of Darkness list. Almost every movie on there has some redeeming value because that's why it was in the documentary. Either because it was a good movie, or it was a cult classic, or it did something that inspired other movies.
Right.
So for that reason alone, I haven't run across one yet that I've watched. I mean, sure, you could say Inseminoid wasn't a great movie, but it was still interesting to see an alien clone. I mean, I was still getting something out of it. So all of these, I think, are worth watching from the sheer fact that they made it into the documentary. So they must have some smidgen of redeeming value.
Well, yeah, see, and the beauty of those documentaries is, as a whole, and I know we've said this before, is that it's a time capsule of our like formative horror years, really.
Right.
I mean, yes, a little bit of the end of the 70s, but really the 80s were our generation's horror time. That's when we because the video store boom and the excitement of going to pick something like that. And it's all of it. It's the memories. So it's like you could watch the crappiest horror movie from 1980 that you found on this list, and it's still going to have some meaning to you because it's still going to capture that feeling that you had back then. And I think that's what's cool about it. So I would never begrudge you for anything on this list. I tell you, anything that the list and David's docs, you know what? I plan to do the same at some point to kind of cackle that, but still got to get back to that Amityville thing. Jeez. I think it grew 6 more movies by the time.
Oh my gosh, I can
since
imagine.
I stopped. So I guess, I don't know. So I have 2 horrors left and 1 non-horror, which it had and obviously I'm going to save the big one for last. So, I'll just go in order from here at this point. That was Kill Her Goats, of course, was that movie that I have to say the marketing genius, because he got me into buying this thing sight unseen, with all the promos and stuff. And it's one of the movie plot is very basic. I mean, they tried to capture the 80s feel for sure. All practical effects, which gets an applaud right there. I got Kane Hodder in it, gets an applaud. The problem is they promoted this, with this killer goat face in it, and it's just not the, like, it's hard to explain without completely spoiling the movie, but it basically does not what you think. Like, he's not, like, just stalking all these girls in the thing, and there's this weird plot twist that, like, to me, I'm like, did I miss something? Like, it, like, literally completely changed the movie at one point, and I'm not sure if I just missed a line or I missed something that maybe triggered it. But I mean, the whole point of this movie, you could tell they wanted to really show off that 80s feel, practical effects. I mean, literally, it's like 99% boob, this movie. I mean, it's like I think there's 3 Playboy Playmates in there as the stars of it. So, which acting wise, they weren't horrible. I'll tell you that. They were actually, they held their own. I mean, especially that's why I think that helped capture that kind of 80s kind of horror-y feel with the thing. And the plot is very simple. It's like basically this girl goes and buys this house. There was supposedly some rich families back in the day, but there was a legend about it, which they don't really follow up on as much as they should. And it's just, I think all the pieces don't blend together, even though individually I kind of like what they've done, if that makes sense. No, like, I love the promotion, I love his practical effects, I love his Kane Hodder, but there's not enough of all of them and they're not organized cohesively enough to make a good movie.
Yeah.
And not that I'm upset I bought it, because like I said, I love to support independent film. There was 100% from everybody in this, the effort required. And to me, I don't mind, like, basically, if that, I'll count it all, I'll chalk it up to a donation to hopefully this guy be able to make more films. Because, like I said, he sent that nice letter, like, inside the thing that he actually hand signed, and and it's a little promotion, and I just liked all the stuff around the movie, even though the movie wasn't the greatest for me overall. I am not disappointed one bit that I bought it for all those other reasons. So, but you know what? Check it out. I think there's definitely some merit to it. It's enjoyable. I mean, for the bare minimum, if you're a guy who wants to see boobs, here's your movie. Next one I want to speak of independent. This one is not horror, but it stars our good friend Emily Sweet, and that's Palace. And, we're used to seeing Emily in horror movies, and this is definitely more, and these are movies I just always love. It's like one of these small town movies where there's just intertwining characters that all kind of have a connection at some point in some way. And it's just basically almost like a snapshot of like this town. The whole, and a couple of people's, this one guy has this problem, this has this problem, and they all intertwine, and they're related, or and as you find out through the movies, I love those movies. I don't know why, there's something about them. I just love like shortcuts like that, kind of thing, just that kind of style. I love those type of movies, and Emily really shows off her acting chops in this. And I actually, I texted her after saying, "Wow, you were so good in that movie," and not that I think, that's that she's not good in all the others, but this was different. This is not a horror. This was like, she had to have like full on dramatic chops in this thing, and I think she was awesome. So I think Ken was the one that actually saw this first, and he was raving about it, if you remember. So I think this is on Prime now, so you should definitely check this out. And you can see Emily's like non-horror acting chops. It's
cool.
Exciting.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah,
for sure.
So finally, I'll finish it off with obviously probably one of the biggest movies of the year to date, and that is Scream 6. Of course, I'm not going to go into any spoilers. It's way too new. Tim has not seen it yet. I think out of our little group, right? It's you and Ken are the holdouts.
Yeah, me and Ken have not seen it yet. It's impossible for me to get to the theater these days.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be hard. Good thing is I think it's on digital already in like next month. So, but anyway, I saw a lot of people's consensus kind of felt the same way as me. And obviously the box office is showing that, but obviously huge success already. Love the new setting, love the New York feel to it. You know what? And I agree with a lot of people. I saw this. I actually think I rank it right after the original.
I've seen so many people say that it's really got me excited because one person saying it is one thing, but when you have multiple different people saying the same thing, there's got to be something to it, right?
Yeah, and I think what they managed to do, I think because of the cast that's carryover from Scream, I guess what 2022 we'll call it, because Scream 5, but it's not really listed as Scream 5. I think the carryover cast was so likable, and then remember, this was the first Scream without Neve Campbell. It's not a secret. She did, she wasn't, you knew she was not coming back in this movie. So it had a lot the risk that it could alienate some old fans. I thought it helped it because you know what? How many times already can Sydney be in these movies? I mean, it's how many, the final girls, are to extent. I mean, okay, look, Laurie Strode, yes, but she's advanced. It wasn't like continuous for every single movie. So it's good. I think the fresh change in characters and the fresh change in atmosphere were good because you're still getting to know these characters a little from the last one that everyone liked, and this you really get to see more of them. And, now you really get to focus on them. It's like the last movie was kind of like that transition, that transition into like, okay, we're getting out some of the old characters here, the legacy characters, like Star Wars did, kind of like, and now we're going to get into the new characters. This is what the franchise is going to be going forth. And, I mean, who doesn't love Jenna Ortega? I mean, so. And
now you don't have to worry about the introduction. Like you're actually, you can now play with these characters without having to go through all the build up of who they are and all that.
Exactly. And I will say it's like the movie starts off with such a bang and such a different way than Scream, the franchise, has ever done, that I think it was a huge, like, to the point of where I sat there like almost with my jaw open. I'm like, no, this can't be the way this is going. And as the film goes on, it just gets something about, I had so much fun watching this movie. It was like, I didn't want it to end. Normally these days, like I'm, very few movies I'm like I don't want it to end. This I did not want to end. I actually looked at my watch when I thought it was coming to end, and I was disappointed to see that it only had about like 15 minutes left. That's how much fun I was having watching this movie. It's like some new characters are in it are great. you know, the like I said, the returning character, great. Just everything about it is like, and there's so many fun Easter eggs. Of course, I love the New York setting, being a New Yorker, and you know, it's always been a franchise that episodes had to poke fun at itself while being still carrying a narrative that entertains you. And again, I think they just I liked it way better than I did the 2022 version, which is kind of funny because it's the same characters. But I think, like you said, I think that's a big point. Is like now we already know these characters already, and now we're getting to see what happens to the next level of them. And it's like, you know how they said it's very, you know, they said, oh, this is the most brutal, gory one. They did not oversell that. There's a ton of gore in it, ton of violence and crazy sequences. And it's like, it's literally almost nonstop. And it's over 2 hours. I mean, this is becoming a new thing now. These long horror movies that are close to 2 hours. I mean, do you remember when an average horror movie would be lucky if you got past 80 minutes?
Yeah, if you were like 91 minutes, you were like long.
Yeah.
Because you went over 90.
Yeah, and I think this is that says something to how good the horror writing of movies has become now, that you can carry a story for 2 hours or more without being overkill, no pun intended, you know? So yeah, I give this, like I said, I think I gave it like 4.5 out of 5 easily. It was very hard to give me for me to give a 5-star these days, but this is about as close as you're gonna get. So definitely go out and see Scream 6 if you can. So I guess should I do the promo first?
Do the promo
so
first.
We don't
want to sully it.
With it. Yeah, it's like the new tradition here. So it says this is a movie for Unseen. That's which actually, if you saw the trailer, actually looks really good. I want to see this. And actually, we're gonna have a contest. When you're listening to this, I think I'm gonna try and release the contest that day for 5. We're gonna give away 5 digital Redbox codes for this. It looks really good. So 2 women form an unlikely connection when Sam, a gas station clerk, receives a misdialed call from Emily, who is running from her murderous ex-boyfriend in the woods. Having lost her glasses in her escape, Emily must rely on Sam's eyes using the video call in order to survive. Unseen is the latest thriller from Blumhouse Productions, available to buy or rent on digital now. The film is not rated. So, yeah, I watched the trailer for this. I don't know if you saw it, Tim. Looks really, really cool. I mean,
it's an interesting premise for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know, how many times have you seen it? Well, the blind person. Well, they took it like almost like it's not blind. You're not blind, but she's virtually blind because
this would be Olivia. She can't see like 10 feet without her glasses.
Yeah, so imagine her lost in the woods without glasses and no way to, you know, and she knows she's being stalked. So, you know, it just already sounds like a cool premise that she's smart enough to figure it out, to call somebody. And, you know, like literally have them guide her through technology. And for once, it's like you're using the cell phone in a movie, like in using it for something that would make sense.
Now you're a to be trap. Oh, yeah. I got bailed out this week. I thought it was my to be trap time, but it's not. So I get another week to watch mine.
Yeah. So this one is, I'm not even sure how to you know, what kind of genre this is in. I mean, you know, so it kind of has, you know, I can see why it's listed as horror, but action adventure come first in the description. So basically you know what? I'm going to read to you the description first, and I'll go from there real quick. So it says, a small plane carrying fossil hunters crash into the Amazon jungle, and the survivors must battle their way through cannibals, wild animals, and slave traders.
And the movie is Massacre at Dinosaur Valley.
Massacre at Dinosaur Valley. But that's the name of it. And so apparently it got that name because there were once dinosaurs there, and there's fossils there, but it's supposedly a place you're not supposed to go. This thing is so incredibly dubbed over. Except, here's the thing, it's all, you know, one guy who's an American, he's dubbed for only the first, like, 10 lines of the movie, and then for some reason it's either they catch up to him, or I don't know what happened. But, like, I was watching it, I'm like, why are they dubbing him? He's American. And then I see it, then all of a sudden his voice and mouth matched up for the rest of the movie. No one else's did. This one is like almost like when you've ever seen one of those, like, almost reminds me of one of those like Emmanuel movies, but not like the original classic ones. Like those like really ones they just kept churning out with Emmanuel in Bangkok, Emmanuel, you know, they used to be on Skinamax at night all the time, like that, where they're heavily dubbed, like nonstop nudity, crazy little adventures going on. Now mix that with Romancing the Stone, and then I think that's what you got with this movie.
Wow.
Yeah, because like, there's the hero in it. There's a lot of, gratuitous sex scenes and nudity. Very problematic, the treatment of women in this, over and over again. But again, like Kim and Kat said, well, it's, the 80s, so it's, what are you going to get? This was 85. I mean, and the funny thing is, if you would have taken out all the nudity in this, I could have seen this movie actually being released as like almost like just a regular bad movie. But but here's the crazy thing about it. It still kept my interest and entertained me to the point of where I didn't get tired of it. It was good enough to keep my interest, and I think the bad dubbing and the silliness to it at the same time, like entertain me, because whenever they dub a movie, that the lines are probably not as accurate as they should be.
Yeah.
There were so many spots where you could tell. I said, okay, there is no way, that cannot be what he said there. It's like, but
yeah, that's offers some form of entertainment at least.
They do, and that's what this did. This provided me with absolutely entertainment. Now, is this something I'm gonna recommend as, this is a must-see? Not even close. But you know what? There were way worse things you could see on a Tubi Trap. And this one had enough like action sequences and kind of like intrigue, I guess, to keep my focus on it. No, and it was not just all the boobs. But it definitely, there was a lot of like funny, like not so much slapstick per se, but like unintentional slapstick, if that makes sense. Like, a guy will get punched and he'll fly a little bit too much further than he should have by getting hit by a punch, kind of thing.
Yeah.
The dubbing part makes it even funnier because you just never have that emotion. Like some guy will get slit throat, and like the person should be going, "Oh my God, that's horrible," and I'll be like, "Oh my God, that's horrible."
They never get it's almost like they've never seen the film and they're just reading lines off a page or something. Yeah,
that is probably the best.
Which is probably the real case. That's probably what happened.
Oh yeah. And that is probably the best description of it, why a dubbed movie is so funny half the time, is what you just said. That's exactly it. But, yeah, so I think Tim and I both got lucky with our last Tubi Traps.
I've been trying to take it a little easy, because we went through some really, talking like second grade potty humor level movies. So
literally, for me, I had a movie about a killer toilet.
Yeah, so I felt like we had to ease back from the trap part of the Tubi just a little bit. It still has to be bad. I mean, come on, it's still got to be bad, but we can't. I don't want to. I don't want it to be so bad that we're like dreading it. That kind of thing.
Yeah. No, this was like the perfect type of Tubi Trap.
All right. Well, let's get to our feature film. This one's this is going to be a weird one to talk about. We're not going to give a lot of spoilers on it.
Because this has a lot of twists in it.
A lot of twists. I'm going to kind of stick more with my just impressions and overall feelings. This one is on Shudder. It's called Spoonful of Sugar. And it came out last year. It was directed by Mercedes Bryce Morgan. It stars Morgan Saylor as Millicent, Kat Foster as Rebecca, Michael Olivier as Jacob, Danilo Cravetti as Johnny, and Keith Powell as Dr. Welsh. And I'll read the synopsis here. Millicent is taking a semester off from her studies to concentrate on her thesis about children with severe allergies, which makes her the perfect person to take care of little Johnny, a sickly, mute child who suffers from every allergy under the sun, from nickel to artificial fabric. His overbearing mother, Rebecca, is an accomplished author who is focused on her latest book release, while his dissatisfied father, Jacob, spends sweaty, shirtless days toiling away on a carpentry project in the backyard.
Literally, and I still don't know what the project is.
We don't know,
I don't think you know. Or does it matter, really, in the end? I think the whole point is to give, I guess, people out there a sweaty, shirtless look of this guy. I don't know. Because I saw one of the reviews, they said, I only came for Michael Olivier, or whatever. I'm like, I don't know who that is, but okay.
I read a review of this, and I couldn't agree more, that said this is a movie with not one likable character. And I agree with that. Like, there's nobody in this movie to root for, because everybody in this movie is a terrible person.
And that doesn't make it a bad movie, because if you saw one of my favorite movies of all time literally has, I think, one likable character, and that's Sideways. Do you ever see Sideways?
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie. I've watched it a million times, and I never thought I'd like it, and I like it. And if you look at it, almost every character in that movie, main character, except I think Virginia Madsen's character in it, it's got such a terrible thing about them. You know?
Yeah,
like,
I don't think that in and of itself makes a movie bad, but
no,
it
it doesn't. And that's what I wanted to clarify. It's like that any criticisms we might have of this movie is not because of that point.
No,
because
it's for other things.
Yeah, but that's sometimes refreshing too when there's no likable characters there. I mean, maybe that's why I like Sideways.
In this case, I think it would have helped because to me, this movie was just an absolute mess. The whole, without trying to go into spoilers, Millicent's a very strange person. She's of course the babysitter. She's very odd and eccentric. She's in therapy, as we find out. We do find out some other darkness in her background that's really bad. And at the same time, the parents that she's caring for, I mean, like they said, the overbearing mother, she's like almost intolerable in this movie. She's
she was actually getting me annoyed. And now, granted, I want to say, not the actor. The actors in this were fantastic. I thought Morgan Saylor played Millicent. I thought it was great, and Kat Foster was great. To the point of where their characters were annoying at some level. You know?
Yeah, that's a compliment to their acting because a good actor can make you hate their character, and that's what these were doing in spades. But yeah, so everybody in this movie is, like we said, is unlikable. They're rude or they're weird.
They're just rotten people. They do rotten things, you know,
for lack of a better word. And there's there's weird there's a whole weird vibe to this movie. So Millicent dresses like a Lolita type character. She's got like the pigtails, and I
almost got an orphan vibe. The orphan, you know, like
that
like that kind of vibe. Even though that's not, spoiler alert, she's not like a 40-year-old adult pretending to be a kid. She's her age.
Yeah.
But
she's not underage. She's in her 20s, I think, in the movie. She's in college.
She's an adult.
But she dresses kind of childlike, and there's this whole seductive thing where she's kind of attracted to the dad. And so I was like, okay, so this is one of those movies where she's like a Lolita, and then the mom's going to get jealous. And there's parts of that in here. At the same time, she's taken LSD as an experiment for allergies and stuff, for her thesis for allergies. So she's having hallucinations and things from taking this LSD. So then I thought, okay, well, maybe this is like an LSD trip movie and she's seeing hallucinations, and that's going to cause things to happen. And there's a little bit of that in there.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking there's other aspects that I can't go into for spoiler reasons. So I'm thinking that's the kind of movie this is. But it never coalesces around any one of these ideas. It just throws it all in there. And as soon as you get used to going, oh, okay, I know what kind of movie this is, it switches gears and makes a right turn and does some other different thing. Now, if the movie was better structured, maybe that would work because it would be, oh, twist, oh, I didn't see that coming. But I never felt like the twists were surprising in this. I just felt them to be annoying because I was like, oh, well, I thought this was this movie, and now you're saying it's this kind of movie. And that really frustrated me.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too. Yeah, that's the thing. I think there were so many different things, and it couldn't decide which movie it wanted to be. But you actually said something that just triggered something in my head. You know, the whole thing with her taking LSD. I'm wondering if they tried to make this whole movie like one LSD trip. Not that I've ever taken it. I don't know what it's like but what I see in movies and what I hear and descriptive about it. Maybe they wanted you to be like, so like, what the hell? Constantly to get the feeling. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit. Yeah. I don't know.
And there was a lot of stylistic choices that they made to represent the LSD trips and stuff. And some of that didn't work for me. It was just a little too, I don't know. It just felt kind of first time directory to me. But I've seen a ton of people that love this movie. Like if you go look at the Shudder reviews, the overwhelming majority are very positive. And people are going, "Oh my god, that was the craziest twist!" And I'm going, "Did we watch the same movie?" Because that didn't do anything.
Yeah, I didn't get that part. I mean, what I said this movie is kind of effed up. Yeah. It's like there's a lot of effed up moments in this movie. You know, but I agree with Tim on that. I didn't hate it though. I didn't. It's not like I disliked it.
It was I was entertained. It wasn't like I was bored or but I could look at it and go, this movie's a mess.
Right. Like I could look at the same thing. Like while I was entertained, I could say like, well, you know, it would have worked better if this was happened or this is just confusing. It doesn't need to be there. But I think again, that's probably a credit to the cast being so good, because I think imagine this movie had a terrible cast to it that couldn't act.
Oh yeah. The cast elevates this movie
maybe.
for sure.
Yeah.
And there's parts, and again, I can't get into spoilers. There's a part about the ending that literally made no sense to me.
Yeah,
like literally made
zero
sense to me. I'm not going to go as far as say it was a plot hole, because there's maybe I missed something, but it's never a good sign when you come away from a movie going, that doesn't even make any sense. Like you did a twist that twisted so hard it made your whole logic of your movie unravel. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Brian knows what I'm talking about.
And I know what you're talking about. And I was like, what? I think I might have said it out loud. Like, I was like, what? Because I was like, and I remember I was watching it. I think it was like one morning I woke up early and I couldn't fall back to sleep. So I popped it on. I think Julie was just getting up, and like I was like, what? You know, she was like,
if you're going to do a twist, it's like if you had like a slasher and the whole movie, the slasher is like 6 feet tall, and then at the end it's revealed that it's like a 4 foot tall little girl or something, and you would go, they're like, oh well, that's a twist I didn't see coming, because it doesn't make any sense in the context of the movie. That's not what this one is, but it's sort of like that. It's like, okay, I see you put this crazy twist in, but it doesn't make any sense with what you just showed us. Like,
it was almost like a cheat twist.
It's a cheat twist, yes.
There was no like, I mean, maybe if we watch, like you said, maybe if we watched it again, we missed something that would have like teased it. But either way, it shouldn't be that hard. You got to have some kind of a little bit of a tease.
It was almost like they decided, this movie needs one more twist. We better write one in real quick.
Yeah. Or it's like literally they took 5 scripts and they tried to make it into one to sell it or something. Yeah, and there's just way too much going on for me to make it a really good movie. But yeah,
I'm convinced there's a good movie in here. I'm convinced there's a good movie in here.
It's in there somewhere. It's just they didn't. Yeah,
I like the premise. I don't know where, and I don't think it's the directing. I think it's just it's the writing. There's something in the writing that's wrong. But everything else about the movie was good, and that's why I still say it's definitely worth watching.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I definitely recommend it to watch because of the performances and a lot of like what the F scenes.
And a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people liked it. I watched it one time, so maybe on a rewatch I would catch something that kind of made everything click for me. But I'd be curious to see what you guys think when you watch it and see if you can.
Yeah, let us know.
Like
too.
Definitely,
yeah, we need to have like some kind of open forum where people can like talk about what they agree with.
Yeah,
us or
like
don't agree with us.
Feel free to email us and go, hey guys, or write us on Facebook and say, hey guys, I watched Spoonful of Sugar and this is what you're missing, blah 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 blah. Because I would love to read that, and I will put it on the air and go, so and so pointed this out, and this makes perfectly good sense. So
and I mean, look, we get that. Some of like John, like our buddy John Eversole, there he wrote us on Facebook to tell you that movie we were talking about is available on Prime through Elvira, like the House That Screamed. Mm-hmm. He wrote us the thing because he heard us talk about it in the last episode. So we love that stuff. We love interaction, and we love hearing responses. So yeah, it's definitely, if we miss something, tell us, because I know Tim and I are people claim that we're these horror experts, but
we are not.
I don't know if we're experts, but
we are far from horror experts. We've watched a lot of.
Else.
I mean, we've watched a lot of horror. We've probably watched more horror than the average person, but that definitely doesn't make us experts by any stretch of the imagination. And you know what? I am not judgmental. Like, if you liked a movie that I did not like, I'm not going to be like trying to argue it with you. Like, I don't argue with people about what movies they like and don't like. I think that's a personal opinion, and everybody's comes from a different background, and they've come from a different cinema watching background. That's why critics often disagree with the general public, because critics have seen hundreds and thousands of more movies than the average person. So when they go into a movie, they may be looking at that movie and seeing that it's derivative of 50 films they've seen that you've never seen, and you go into it and go, my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And that same critic goes in and goes, this is the same old crap I've seen dozens of times before. And your views are going to be completely different just because of that background. Yeah. So I don't get on people about, if you like a movie, great. I wish I liked every movie I saw. I would love it if I loved every movie I watched. That would be my dream. So.
Yeah. And there's still movies that Tim and I we don't need to go through them again, but we've outwardly disagreed with the consensus, and we're not sure what we're missing. We're actually questioning ourselves to where we'd watch it again, and still not understand because it just certain things don't hit with people, and that's what it is.
Yeah. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's what makes this all fun.
Yeah.
It makes it worth.
That's why there's also that many movies out there, because everyone has tastes.
I mean, my God,
something for everybody.
Podcast would be really boring if we all just loved every single movie that came out.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there was one of our rare. I would say I'll put this in a miss category, but I will say still worth checking out just to make up your own mind. I think this is definitely a make up your own mind movie.
Yeah, and I think it's deserving the watch just for the performances. I think it's and it's made well too. It's not like it's cheaply done by any means. It's well done,
Morgan Saylor's really good in this.
Yeah,
she's
I
very
actually
weird.
never. Yeah, apparently she's been in a bunch of stuff. I've never seen her before, and so I was really impressed by her. I might want to look up her other movies now to kind of see what else she does. I thought she did a great job in the role. So, I do have a beer pairing though for it, Tim.
This is about as spot on a beer pairing.
You can't really get much more spot on. The beer is named Spoonful of Sugar, and it's by Illuminated Brew Works out of Chicago, Illinois. At 8%, it says Spoonful of Sugar is more than a beer; it's a philosophy of sustenance. Galaxy and Montuca hops are the star of the show, but it's lactose sugar that elevates this beer to the gooey, gory ode to lupulin that it is.
Gory.
That just sounds,
it even has gory in the
description. It has gory in it, so there you go. And this spoonful weighs a ton. Enjoy with people you trust. So it kind of maybe has a little connection to the movie, actually.
Yeah, 8% packs a punch there. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that is a good one. Speaking of 8%, I think next week we need to include, even if it's brief, if it's either the full episode or brief, we need to talk about New Jersey HorrorCon preview. Yeah. Since we'll be going, when you hear this, a week and a half away, and there will be lots of drinking there. So.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of whiskey
Probably
sours.
way more than 8%, I'm sure.
The Civil Gore drink is whiskey sour with 3 cherries. So.
Yes, that is the official Civil Gore drink. But we also decided we're going to name drinks after people that we would like to be there that aren't, and we'll leave that as a surprise. And we're going to try and put. I know we always say this, but I brought this really cool selfie stick / tripod. That's was super cheap on Amazon on sale. And I was trying it out already. It's amazing. It extends really long, which is great for someone who's short like me. And it could go over heads and con floors so we can see everything. But it also can sit as a little as a tripod. The legs pop out of the selfie stick handle and form a tripod. So we can even prop that up while we're at dinner and discussing things. We do some maybe Instagram lives throughout the show.
That would be fun.
I think Tim and I, we need to do that stuff. I think, everyone else does it. We need to do that. We'll do a fun Instagram live from the show floor, and maybe from Scarioke, which is always like a hoot. That's where the Civil Gore drink was born.
And we're going to have more time this time. I think that's important to note because I know Ken and I are staying through Monday. I mean, we're staying through Sunday.
Same with me. So we'll have Sunday night.
Yeah, so we'll have Sunday night, and also it's not a guest heavy con, so we don't think it's going to be really. It's probably not going to be that crowded. I'm assuming, and I'm also thinking there's not going to be a lot of time spent in guest line. So I think we're going to have a lot of spare time on our hands to do some stuff like that.
Yeah, and I want to do what I saw someone else do: go to the booth and kind of talk to people. Maybe we'll capture that if they're okay with it. Capture it on film, and I can edit something up. Just because they have some really cool people. Like we gotta talk to our buddy, the Pickle Monster, of course.
Oh my God,
that dude!
I've got a big pickle budget this year, baby. I'm bringing a big pickle budget.
I know, and it's funny. Like I posted about it to make sure he was there, and I said we were gonna stock up, and someone else said, "Me too." So the Pickle Monster, man, he's like one of the hits of the show. They should be advertising him.
The best hot pickles I've had. This Pickle Monster. If you go, you can search him up online. I've tried. I came back home because I couldn't carry pickles with me back on the plane. I came back home. I tried.
That just sounds funny.
I tried no less than 5 or 6 different hot pickle varieties. Every hot pickle variety I could find in town, and none of them were even close to this guy's pickle. So
no, and his hot sauce was amazing. Julie and I are big hot sauce fans.
Yeah,
and literally we finished his hot sauce. I should have bought a second bottle. We bought one bottle. It was relatively on the small size. It packed such a punch. It was so good. It was gone in like 2.5 to 3 days.
Yeah.
So I need to buy like a case of his sauces, a bunch of pickles. I swear to God, this is like gonna be like I'm gonna come back with. Jude's gonna be, what kind of souvenirs did you buy? I'm like, pickles.
It's gonna be all pickles and hot sauce.
Pickles, hot sauces, coffees, because I always go to Deadly Ground.
Yeah.
Is Deadly Grounds? Yeah, Deadly Grounds. Deadly Grounds. Yeah, I want to make sure I got it. I get it confused with Death Wish. It's Deadly Grounds.
Well, the nice thing is with the I'm not going to be spending much on autographs this time. So
right.
all that money is going to go towards vendor stuff. So I'm definitely buying coffee. I'm definitely buying, and I can bring it back because I'm driving this time. So I mean, everything, coffee, hot sauce, pickles.
You can buy those cupcakes if that girl's there.
Yeah, like all that stuff now is like now within my realm. So I'm really excited this time I'm more excited for the vendor stuff this time because I can actually bring it back. Even if it's big, I can bring it back. So that's awesome.
Yeah, Tim's just going to pack his whole trunk with something. Remember, I have your screen poster for you too.
Yeah, I buy giant. I mean, if I want to buy a giant sign for my office or a poster, I can do that now. So
you can buy that Eric Roberts life-size statue and get it signed there and bring it home.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, it'd be awesome.
Which warn Olivia though if that comes back in the house. I
would just hide it in different places around the house and let it scare her.
It'd be like a different elf on the shelf, you know.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be like we need a funny name for it, but so my fan topic foo or thing is that this is a little. It's going to end on a downer note, I guess, today, and that is saddest movie death. And this could be anything other than horror.
I knew the answer. There's only one correct answer to this, Brian. There's only one correct answer to this.
What are you going to say?
My answer to this is the only correct answer, and that is Artax the horse from Neverending Story.
You know what? I know it's definitely on my list. It's definitely up there. I would also counter with pretty much any movie that has dog in the title about a dog's life. Yeah, and that it always ends with the poor dog passing away. I mean, can't bear it.
Old Yeller has to be like the original. That's got to be like the OG saddest movie death is Old Yeller. But
yeah,
but
I also will put Dobby up there.
Yeah, I don't know. Dobby was CGI though. I know,
but still, he died. He died. He died saving Harry.
He
Potter.
died to be free. But he's free now.
He had a sock and he died. You can't.
I mean, but Artax literally sank into the swamp of sadness. The horse got so depressed it decided to just sink into the mud. I mean, it's. That traumatized generations of 80s kids.
One that's it's not really super as sad for me as it's some for other people, but some people still talk about this as being so traumatic, and it was when Optimus Prime died in the cartoon, the Transformers. Not that I'm laughing, I mean, but it's a truck robot. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to think of some more, but I don't know. That one.
That one's definitely got to be up there. I'm trying to think. Well, I think part of me like
the wife and Up maybe.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the Disney movies. I was gonna say most of anytime a Disney, like one of those characters goes, I would, there would be. I used to be sad at that when I was a little kid. That movie, The Champ. Remember?
Oh yeah.
But now Ricky Schroeder, I can't stand the guy, so let him cry all he wants. I mean, I know he didn't die in it, but you know what I'm.
E.T. almost died. That really, if E.T. had died.
Yeah, I know that would have been it because, from what I was told, I was tearing up in the theater and putting my hat down over my face to hide it. I remember that.
I remember being in the theater watching that and being completely just sobbing, upset. I still remember being in the theater watching that. But E.T. survived, so it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, and. The thing is with that with ET, it's it's at the time, when you first don't realize that's that he's gonna come back. I mean, it's traumatizing,
and he's all white and pale. And, oh my gosh, it was horrible. That was very traumatic.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. One death that got me, and it wasn't so much the character dying that got me. It was that the little kid with the terms of endearment when Deborah Winger dies at the end. And the little kid comes out, and she's so crying. He's crying, and then the brother gets mad, and what's her face? Shirley MacLaine slaps the older brother, shut up, because he's making the poor the little baby brother is crying. And
how about an honorable mention for Macaulay Culkin getting stung to death by bees in My Girl?
Yeah, I mean that one's. I noticed that one's on everybody's list. Everybody. Well, and actually, there was one. It wasn't even an on-screen one, and it always saddened me. The one in Bridge to Terabithia.
Oh yeah, that's a rough one.
Oh no, I know one that I have to put up there though too. Even though I knew it was coming because I had read the book, but Rue in Hunger Games, it was always a sad one for me.
Yeah, I didn't really pay much attention to Hunger Games. I ended up reading them all, but I didn't really. It was after the movies came out, and I didn't really like them, so I was like, yeah. But yeah, I'm having trouble thinking of any other ones. The Neverending Story is just so stuck in my mind. I can't get past it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, to me, like the just some of the Star Wars ones, Yoda, of course, was even though he's never really, the Jedi's never really seem to. They're never completely gone because they come back as Force ghosts, so that kind of softens the blow, I think, a little bit. It's hard to. We could go back to our favorite Rocky. I mean, was sad when Mickey died, I guess. As Tim laughs away.
I'm laughing because I had a friend. Ken's gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. We had a friend, Daniel, that did a Mickey impression. And he would leave the room because we used to go over to his house and we played D&D all night. And he would leave the room and he had this toboggan and he would we call it in South we call it a toboggan. I don't know what they call it in North, Brian. What is that? A cap? A winter cap.
Oh yeah, I was like toboggan. We call a sled.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Yeah, so in the South we call that a toboggan. That cap. Okay. So it was funny because we went to when we went up north to New Hampshire snow skiing one time. We went to a store and we asked if they had any toboggans for sale. And the guy was showing us all these sleds, and he was like, "It's like we don't sell them, but we rent them." And we're like, "Rent? Why the hell would you rent a toboggan?" But anyway, it was a culture clash there, but it was pretty funny. But anyway, yeah. So he would go in and put this cap on, and then he would come back in the room and he'd be like, "You can do it, Rocky!" And it would crack us up every single time. I mean, it was the whole. I still laugh about it to this day, and I still to this day, if I find a cap or toboggan, I will have to do that impression. So, yeah,
I might have to find.
God bless you, Mickey. But I love that whole character. Yeah. So, but anyway, we're gonna be back next week, and we'll do a little New Jersey HorrorCon preview there for you.
Yes, that should be good. We may still do a movie with it. We're not sure. We're not sure what's going on yet. Our schedule's been kind of wacky lately. But, we did give 3 episodes last week. That kind of threw us off a bit.
Yeah, it's quite... So. Yeah, keep an eye on our social media because it's quite likely this travel is going to interrupt some show or two. So, and we also got an April Dismemberment coming up. I don't know when we're going to squeeze that in.
Oh, yeah, I got to do that. And then with me, just with a lot of stuff going on, I have family coming in right after the New Jersey HorrorCon. So
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, there could be that's why we'll make up for it with as much content as we can while we're at the con, because there may be a lull for a week or so in there.
All right, guys, we'll see you back here next week.
See ya.